You are live.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ثم أما بعد. Respected all, the last topic we discussed last week was the threshold versus poverty line, and we concluded that there is no connection between the two. Someone might be under poverty line, yet that person is a zakat payer, and somebody else might be above the poverty line, yet he or she is an eligible zakat recipient. We said several times that threshold is a technical zakat related standard, while the poverty line actually is the standard of living that the government actually set, for financial support purposes for those who are eligible for. Moving on, combining assets to reach nisab. What if someone does not have enough cash, which is, I would say, for $4,500, for this year, to pay zakah on the cash that he has. And when it comes to cattle, for example, he does not have any nisab for. He doesn't have like 30 cows. He has only 10 cows, for example, right? Does he have to put those two different assets together to constitute a nisab or a threshold? The answer is absolutely no, because there's a certain nisab for the cash money and a certain nisab for the cattle or for the livestock, and a certain nisab for the agricultural products. They should not be like mixed up together. Just keep it simple. If you do have enough money, if you have a nisab, okay, for the cash, then you pay zakah on the cash. Okay, if the cattle that you have reaches a nisab, then you pay zakah on them. But if not, then do not worry about this category. And if you have, of course, agricultural products, if you have farming business, and the net amount of the cultivation of the products that you have, or the harvest that you have, reaches nisab, then definitely you need to pay zakah on them. However, there are certain subcategories within zakah are very similar to one another. For example, it might not be that practical, nowadays. It's just an example. What if someone does have some silver and some gold, some actual real silver and gold? Does he have to combine them together? Based on the strongest opinion, yes, because silver and gold belong to the same category, which is jewelry. So putting them together actually is a good idea. Somebody else has Kuwaiti dinars or Saudi riyals, for example, and American dollars. Okay, but none of them actually reaches nisab. Does he have to put them or to add them up together to constitute a nisab? Of course he has, because this is a currency, and this is a currency, and this is a currency, right? So at the end of the day, they belong to the same category. Then yes, definitely they have to be added up together. If the total is 45 or equivalent to 4,500 American dollars, then he has to pay zakah. But if not, then not. Someone has some cows, okay, and some buffalo. They belong to the same category, which is bovine. Does he have to add them up together? Yes, he has to add them up together. So if they belong to the same category, like money on stocks, yeah, that's a good example. Money on stocks, then definitely they have to be combined together, because you can actually liquidate, the stocks that you have at any time. And even when you measure the value of the account that you have in the stock market, you say that I have financial instruments that worth $5,000. Okay, that's worth $7,000. So the measurement here is based on the American dollars. Then definitely, if you have stocks in the market and you have cash money, then you need to add them up together. Consistency of possessing the threshold or the nisab. Do you have to be consistent? Do you have to be consistent in keeping up the nisab or the threshold throughout the whole year long? The answer is no. Say, for example, that you established a nisab, you constituted $4,500 cash money in the month of Rajab, okay? And of course, since the nisab is established, then this is the beginning, technically speaking, this is the beginning of your fiscal lunar zakah year. Next year in the month of Rajab, if you still have a minimum of $4,500 or more, of course, then definitely you have to pay zakah. This does not mean that you have to keep up that nisab, that $4,500 in our example, throughout the whole year long. You don't have to keep up that money. Even if you experience some kind of fluctuation, like sometimes you had 10,000, 15,000, and then you went down to 1,000 and then to zero, okay, and then back and forth, up and down, that's fine. As long as in the next year, in the month of Rajab, if you still have a minimum of $4,500, then you are, as a zakah payer, you have to consider, paying zakah on whatever you have. This is actually according to the strongest opinion. However, we do have, for example, Hanbali school of thought, if I recall, who said that once the nisab is not maintained, you went below the nisab, then your hawl, your fiscal lunar year, is broken. Okay, so you need to wait until the nisab is established again, and then you pay zakah after 1 year. So zakatable money is what you have at the zakat due date, regardless of the fluctuated position during the year. Salaries, professional and professional fees. That's another confusing category for some of us, because we all know that you need to wait for one complete year to pay zakat al-mal. Zakah actually is due annually. Every year you pay it only one time. Okay. Now, if you want to apply this concept, say for example that someone works as a consultant. Someone has his own business. Okay, works as a surgeon, as a physician, attorney, engineer, lawyer, consultant, and he or she has his own practice. So he does receive, customers on daily basis, and almost every single day he receives money. Okay, if you want to go with the literal understanding, of hawalan al-hawl, the passage of one lunar year, it means that you need to keep track, you need to document every single payment that you receive from your client, which is absolutely not the case. This is actually incorrect. What you need to consider here is the passage of one lunar year of the nisab itself, of the nisab or the threshold itself. I'll give you a practical example. An attorney who has his own law firm, and there is no other source of income for that individual, for that attorney, other than the law firm, right? So he or she already accumulated $4,500 in his bank account from his profession, from being an attorney, right? Well, that is more than enough for him to be a zakat payer. Okay, every now and then he receives payments from his clients. He should not worry about the cash flow that he experiences throughout the whole year long. Okay, 1 or 2 days before the beginning of the month of Ramadan, which is the zakat due date for him or for her, he did receive like a big chunk of money, like a wet check, as they say, $20,000. Okay, that is only 1 or 2 days before the beginning of the month of Ramadan, and there was in his bank account, okay, let's say $50,000. Okay, again, if you want to go with the literal understanding of hawalan al-hawl, then those $20,000 have to be tracked individually, documented individually, and you wait until one lunar year already passed, and then you pay zakat, which is absolutely wrong. Now, the right answer for this question is that those 20,000 have to be added up to the 50,000, and then he pays zakah on the $70,000 in the beginning of the month of Ramadan, despite the fact that those $20,000 in our example did not stay in his position for more than 2 days, right? For more than 2 days. But this is actually called al-malu al-mustafad. This is called al-malu al-mustafad, the surplus or the gained money. whatever you gain on top of the nisab takes the same rule of the nisab. Whatever you gain, whatever you accumulate throughout the whole year long on top of the nisab will be taking the exact rule of the nisab. So everything that you have in your account actually is subject to zakah, of course, after deducting all what you're supposed to or what you have the right to deduct. Salaries actually are the same. I have heard from some brothers and sisters that they insist in paying zakah on every paycheck. Like whenever they receive their monthly check or bi-weekly check, they deduct 2.5% zakatul mal. Is this okay? Yes, it is. I mean, you can do that. But my question here: do you have to pay zakah on a monthly basis? Of course, you do not have to. Okay, because zakah is to be paid annually and not monthly. And there is a wisdom behind that, by the way. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mandates you to pay zakah annually, He gives you the opportunity of one complete year to have that money, to invest that money, and to make some profit. From that profit, you can deduct 2.5 percent zakatul mal. You can set off the inflation, okay, that happens, like I would say here in the US, maybe 0.5%, 1% annually. The purchasing power of the money that you have is getting less and less and less and less, right? Maybe 1% more or less, but it does actually lose its value. So when you keep the money in your position for one complete year, you have a very good opportunity of investing that money and making some profit, right? But if you do not invest the money, the zakah will devour the money. The zakah will eat up the money that you have. So back to our point here. If you insist in paying your zakah on a monthly basis from the paycheck, that is fine. But this actually defeats the purpose of paying zakah annually. Okay, no, keep the money. Do not worry about the cash flow that you experience throughout the whole year long. Whatever you have in your bank account as an employee, as a professional, or as a consultant, if you have your own, if you are self-employed, for example, do not worry about the cash flow that you experience throughout the whole year long. Rather, just find out exactly how much you have and the zakah due date, ZDD, that is the zakah due date, right? Which is for most of us the beginning of the month of Ramadan, and then you do your math and you pay your zakah accordingly. So zakah is not due on the flow of income itself during the year. That's correct. Okay. Jewelry and ornaments. Okay. First of all, anything that is made of gold or silver or diamonds, okay, any precious stones, okay, is commonly known nowadays or called nowadays as jewelry. So it doesn't have to be limited to gold or silver. Okay, no zakah is due. Is considered jewelry. No zakah is due on jewelry as long as the jewelry is for personal use and its value is within the average. We need to elaborate more here. What do you mean by the average? Average actually is what other females, what other women in that particular society have in general. Of course, it depends on the the financial status of that family, right? I mean, we should not compare like a self-employed, non-skillful individual's wife, okay, with an MD's wife or like a surgeon wife, for example, right? Doctors usually have a high income, at least here in the US. So if you want to compare a doctor's wife jewelry, you should make a fair comparison. You compare apple to apple. So you compare her with what other ladies, what other surgeons' wives have usually, right? So women live in the U.S. are definitely different. Like when it comes to owning jewelry, different from women living in Somalia, or living in Jordan, or living in Australia maybe, okay, or in Malaysia, okay. So we need to be fair enough. Okay. I would say nowadays, if you ask me, I would say roughly up to 15, 20,000 dollars for people who are not in like low income. I would say, high class. I would say maybe middle class, low class, income wise, of course. Okay, middle class up to high class, between 15 to 20,000 dollars per woman worth of jewelry would be an average, to my knowledge. So back to our discussion. If a sister, if a woman has, let's say, $50,000 worth of jewelry, right? Okay, and all the $50,000 worth of jewelry are for her personal use. However, the average is only 20,000. Average is only 20,000. Then I would say the first $20,000 worth of jewelry are exempt, okay, are zakah exempt, because this is the average, and the remaining, or the surplus, the 30,000, our example, is zakatable. This is actually to consider more than one madhab in this regard. Okay, some madhab actually believe that jewelry is zakatable anyway. Okay, like the Hanafi school of thought. Jewelry is zakatable anyway. Whenever you have a nisab, whenever the jewelry worth, $4,500 or more, then you have to pay zakah on that jewelry, regardless whether it is for commercial purposes or for personal use, right? And some, said, like the Shafi'i school of thought, for example, they believe that jewelry is not zakatable. Now, to combine those two different contradicting opinions or madhahib, okay, let's hold the stick from the middle. Okay, jewelry, number one, is not zakatable, as long as it is for the personal use, and as well as within the average, for personal use and within the average. If that jewelry is for commercial use, for business purposes, what does it mean for business purposes? I know some families actually where the husband and the wife make a deal. Okay, they keep buying and selling jewelry throughout the whole year long, because they want to make some money, which is fine. Okay, the wife uses that jewelry, and then whenever the price goes up, for example, they sell whatever they have. Whenever the price goes down, they go ahead and just buy some jewelry. And actually, she does use that jewelry, but the main reason behind trading, buying and selling, is to make money. Well, if that is the case, then all what she has is zakatable. Okay, because this is jewelry, but for commercial use, right? Personal use, by the way, does not mean that that the woman has, or the wife has, to use that jewelry on a regular basis every week or every day. No, even if that jewelry is just saved or stored in the bank, for example, okay, and she uses that jewelry only occasionally, whenever there is like a big party, or like a wedding ceremony or whatever, she uses some of that jewelry. That is still actually considered as personal use, okay. Long story short, okay, as they say, if the jewelry is within the average in that particular society, for that particular class, okay, of income, and not for commercial use, then that is zakah exempt. If a lady has more than the average, then the extra, the surplus, actually is zakatable. If the jewelry that she has is for business purposes, for making money purposes, okay, there is a profit motive behind buying and selling, then all what she has actually is zakatable. I'm not here, by the way, today to discourage those brothers and sisters who pay zakah on their jewelry annually. Okay, if you do so, I would say jazakallah khair, keep up the good job and keep paying zakah. The more zakah you pay, the more reward you will be getting, right? But there is a big difference between, can I pay zakah? Of course you can, versus, do I have to pay zakah? No, you do not have to pay zakah. You do not have. I would follow the Shafi'i school of thought in this particular issue and say jewelry actually is zakah exempt. Even like, put aside the differences between the madhahib, and the evidences of each madhab. Think about it from like a logical perspective. Why you do not pay zakah on the house that you live in? Why do not you pay zakah on the car that you drive, right? And the clothes that you have, and the food that you store in the pantry, and the furniture that you have, all the personal items, okay, all the personal belongings, all the personal items that you own for your personal use are exempted. Why, when it comes to jewelry, we say no, it is zakatable? No, actually, it is not. Okay? If you do not pay zakah on the clothes and the food that you have, and the furniture and the house and the car that you live in, then using the same logic, if the jewelry is for personal use, then it should be actually zakah exempt, which is the case. Wallahu a'lam. Retirement account or retirement funds, it could be employer based, like the 401k if you work for like corporate America. It could be 403 if you work for non-for-profit organization. It could be individual retirement account if it is an individual based and not an employer based, okay, with a Roth or just regular IRA. Could be certificate of deposit, could be annuity, it could be what else? It could be even 529 for the education of your kids, or whatever, program or account you might have. So all the saving, let me put it this way, all the saving that you have, not talking about the money that you have in your checking account, no, whatever you have for the as a long-term saving, long-term investment, retirement account. Now the most popular one is the 401k. The most popular one is the 401k. Before I mention the rule here, I want you to remember that one of the rules or conditions for the zakatability of any wealth that you have or asset is al-mulku tam raqabatan wa yadan, full possession, for all, full ownership and full access. If you are the owner and you have an access to that wealth or to that asset or to that commodities or merchandise, okay, then definitely it is zakatable. But if you do not have an access to it, then it's not zakatable. As simple as that. Now, when it comes to 401k in particular, or I'm sorry, any other retirement account, you do have all what you have in your account. Take, for example, which is the most like famous retirement account. All what you have in your 401k, whether the deduction from your paycheck or otherwise from the match of your employer, at the end of the day, whatever you have in your account is yours. Is that correct? Whatever you have in your account is yours. So you are the owner. But the problem here is that when it comes to accessibility, you do not have a full access to that account. Okay, you have a limited access to that account. Now, because of that, we have three different schools here. You have three different scholarly opinions. Some said that the 401k is zakatable in full because that's a kind of investment, and if you do not have to pay zakah on your 401k, then what else you need to pay zakah on? Okay, so all what you have actually is zakatable 100%. Now this is one I would say one extreme. Now the opposite extreme says that 401k is untouchable, unaccessible amount, even if you have millions of dollars worth of investment in your 401k, forget about it, it's not zakatable. And our Fiqh Council, the Assembly of Muslim Jurists of America, in which I'm a member, and it's a resident fatwa committee, we did actually discuss this issue, and we do have a declaration, we do have like an official position in this regard. Sorry. We do not go with any of those two different extremes. We just hold the stick from the middle, as they say. We say that whatever is accessible, whatever accessible is zakatable. Whatever withdrawable is zakatable. Whatever you have an access to, you can withdraw whenever you want, then that is the zakatable part of it. So we do not say that your 401k is 100% zakatable. You need to pay zakah on everything. And we do not say that it is 0% zakatable. Forget about it until the age of retirement, or Allah forbids in case of disability or death. No. We say go with this formula. You go with the withdrawable amount. Okay. You might say, well, it's not withdrawable. No, it is actually. What will happen if you apply for a humanitarian case or you apply for hardship, whatever the investment company call it, and you insist in withdrawing as much as you can? Okay. Each investment company does have a policy, and each employer that you work for does have a policy. Let's keep it simple. You have $100,000 worth of investment in your 401k, and Fidelity or Vanguard, okay, allows you to withdraw up to 50%. Bear in mind that this is a very theoretical math. It's not an actual. I mean, you don't have to withdraw the money. You just do the math off record, okay, offline, and then like just for zakat calculation purposes. So you have $100,000 worth of investment, and you have an access to 50% to your account. So the withdrawable amount is 50,000. Withdrawable amount is 50,000. Now, if you want to proceed in the real life, you will not be taking home 50,000. You will be penalized. You will be charged interest and processing fees and administration fees and on and on. So let's say that the total deduction is 5,000. So the net amount so far is $45,000. Now you have two options: either to pay zakat on those $45,000 in full, that's times 2.5% zakat rate, or if you want to be very conservative, okay, and you want to go with the book, you do not want to pay any single dollar extra, then you can deduct maybe 10-15% from those $45,000 usul thabita, fixed assets, because those stocks or the financial instruments that you have do not represent commodities and merchandise and goods, right? They represent companies, and corporates actually, they do have fixed assets. They have construction, they have machineries, devices, tools, softwares, hardware, furniture, and on and on. Roughly speaking, 10-15% deduction would be fine. If you want to go with the book, then from those $45,000 in our example, you deduct 10-15%, and the net amount actually is zakatable based on 2.5% zakah rate. Now, this is a good place to stop on, which is how to calculate zakah on stocks, shares, and bonds. And inshallah, this will be our topic for the next week. Inshallah, I will see you next week. Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you for watching this presentation. And I want to remind you, by the way, that this upcoming Saturday, we will be having our virtual fundraising for Guidance College. And maybe Mimzi can help me posting the link of Launch Good, or even the post for the fundraising. Would you please consider Guidance College for your zakah, since we are talking about zakah? Of course, Guidance College is an eligible zakah recipient, so we definitely need your financial support, to keep the college running and servicing the community and disseminating authentic and relevant Islamic knowledge. I will see you inshallah this Saturday in the fundraising, inshallah, as well as next Tuesday and the regular class that I have. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.